This video is to help you find out if ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini and AI systems are actively recommending your brand or your business when somebody is searching for certain queries where you want to be showing up. And I will be demoing a tool. It's called Do I Exist? It allows you to pull a report and see how well you're actually being positioned among the top used AI systems. If AI is the new search, how do we get on top of these new search results and recommendations? There's a lot of data coming in, and here's the latest that's happening in that field. First of all, ChatGPT now has 900 million weekly active users. And the interesting thing about ChatGPT queries is that they're much longer. People are using voice to talk to it instead of a search keyword that we usually would do on Google. Now we are submitting paragraphs as search queries. So they're much, much longer. And you can see it 348 words per conversations. They're 70 times longer than a Google search. So people are doing very deep research. They're comparing options and they're making buying decisions inside the chat. And this makes sense because traditionally you would do a search and we would go and scan through 10 different links and open up some websites and take the time to go through all that information. But now ChatGPT just does this for us and consolidates the findings, and it already has some information about us, has some context. And so it can use that knowledge to present us with the solution and the answer. Most of the search obviously is still happening on Google, but even within Google, they are pushing Gemini, so AI overviews. You can attribute some of those search results that are happening within Google already pivoting away towards AI overview, which is Gemini. And ChatGPT has 900 million weekly, but this doesn't talk about Claude, which is gaining popularity and adoption at a higher rate than ChatGPT, and it's taking some of that share as well. So combined between all these different tools, we're talking about a big shift towards searching for things online, doing your research there in a much deeper way. And that presents the great opportunity for brands to show up there. The search engine volume is expected to drop 25% this year as users shift to AI chatbots. Obviously, Google is a major player, so I don't think they're actually going anywhere, but people certainly are using these other platforms to do their search. And so if you're only focusing on Google, you are going to have a smaller pool going forward. Because even though Google search may be lowering, the overall amount of internet traffic is on the rise. And not only through more people using the internet, but also through AI agents and bots that are now doing searching on behalf of humans. In the past, if I can browse 10 websites in a day as part of my research, but now I'm using Claude, and I'm using Claude to scan hundreds of websites. It's doing that work on my behalf. If I'm using CoWork or even if I'm using OpenClaw, it's on my behalf now scanning all these websites and still pulling out information. So websites need to be able to prepare for that traffic and optimize it. Just because Google has a lower amount of searches as a result of LLMs doesn't mean that there's less traffic overall. So you just have to look outside of the smaller pool and look at the whole ocean to see where you want to position yourself and how. This one is really important. So ChatGPT referral visitors convert at a high rate. And this has been consistent across different studies and different research that has been coming in. And the reason this happens is because, like we said earlier, the LLM does the research on your behalf and already scans 10, 20 websites, shortlists everything for you, knows exactly what you're looking for. It's in the best position to recommend it. So if you're clicking away from the chat, going to the commercial website, the intent is much greater. AI does a great job of actually pre-qualifying this intent. This was an interesting study. This was done by SEMrush very recently. And what they found is that not only do they convert more often, but the actual conversion worth is significantly more. And this is, again, just points to the fact that the trust factor is much higher when people are coming over from chats. And there's a much greater trust factor for these visitors. They're coming over from LLMs, having recommended a particular brand. This is an interesting one, and it's based on an Ahrefs study of 75,000 brands and domains. And what they found is that YouTube mentions are actually the number one factor for AI visibility. And this was based on the fact that YouTube presence correlates more strongly with AI visibility than backlinks, domain rating, or content volume. Basically, YouTube seems to be the channel of trust in the eyes of AI. Gemini, which is Google's product, is one of the lead drivers in AI overviews. And Gemini obviously relies on YouTube because YouTube, like Gemini, is a Google product. So there might be some relationship there. But nevertheless, AI does look for trustworthy sources to validate your domain, to validate your business. So it makes sense that YouTube, which just like this video, showcases the authenticity, showcases real people, real knowledge, and things like that, can be considered a more trustworthy factor when LLMs are making their decision of who to rank higher or who to prefer ahead of somebody else. So finally, let's jump into the tool. I showed it to you a little bit here. AI is the new search. Are you showing up? See how often ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini actually recommend your brand, and of course, what to fix so that they do. And this is really, really important because if you're not being recommended, somebody else is. It's a tool that we have developed and built over at Simply Digital. And we're using it to help our businesses, to track our businesses, to see how well we rank up in AI systems. We're also using it for our clients and to see how well they rank up in their different sectors and how our tactics at increasing those rankings are working. And we're tracking these industries on a weekly and on a monthly basis. And by the way, you can already try it out at any time. It's free. It's called doiexist.ai. And the problem that it's solving is that you don't know right now how well you're actually being recommended for competitive queries on top LLMs. There are different tools out there, but they're either extremely expensive or they have limited data, or it's not specific to your exact situation because you want to show up for the highest intent. Also, it's a competitive analysis tool. So it shows you in the cases where you want to be recommended, but you're not, who is recommended and why, and what you can do, which gaps you need to fill, how do you need to address these issues so that you do start getting picked up by them. And finally, it creates a benchmark and a tracking mechanism so that you can track your industry and see if the tactics that you're implementing to increase your rankings are actually materializing and you are seeing a positive results out of it. Let's jump right into it. And we're going to do a sample search for a very well-known brand called Casper. You just type in the URL name right into the search box. Casper, of course, is a very, very well-known mattress brand, and they have a huge Google presence. They have over 500,000 visitors per month to their website. They have thousands and thousands of keywords that are top ranked in Google. But the thing about ChatGPT and Claude and LLMs is that just because you're top ranked on Google doesn't actually mean that you're also top recommended by AI systems. So let's put them to the test. Let's do an experiment for Casper. I'm going to hit this button. And there's a few things happening here behind the scenes. First of all, the tool is crawling the website to understand what this brand is, what is this industry sector, identify the brand entity, so to speak. It also does a technical analysis, so detecting structured data and any technical issues with the website. It's classifying the business category so that it can then generate what are the most high intent AI search scenarios. And finally, it's pulling the queries and actually from ChatGPT, from Claude or Gemini to see if the brand is recommended. It's analyzing all the responses that come in real time, and then it's calculating the score. So all of this just happened in real time. And It took maybe 20, 30 seconds. Let's see what we're looking at. First of all, the overall score is 56 out of 100. So the tool is plugged into 3 different AI models: ChatGPT 5.2, Claude Sonnet 4.6, and Gemini 3 Flash. And this is a single time snapshots. So based on the crawl of the website, the tool was able to identify and recognize the brand and also come up with 15 competitive queries. These are things that people ask when researching within this particular sector. So we have 5 branded queries and 15 competitive non-branded queries. And the score is weighted 40% towards brand awareness, 60% towards competitive visibility. So let's see what this means for Casper. All right, so Casper received a total score of 56. It seems like the brand awareness score is at 100, so all the models know who the brand is. For smaller businesses, if you're not a huge brand like Casper, maybe you're a small business, maybe you are a freelancer or a small team, you're not as well known, run your domain through here and see if AI knows who you are. If these models know who you are and can describe you accurately. In this case, we have a consensus across all 3 that they perceive Casper as a prominent direct-to-consumer sleep products company, primarily known for pioneering bed-in-a-box mattress industry. So this is all accurate. We can then see where they were mentioned, okay? So where AI mentions you, we have 41 mentions found across the queries that we pulled that are most relevant to the sector. So for instance, let's take a look at this one, ChatGPT, cooling mattress options for hot sleepers. So we can see that Casper is mentioned right here for ChatGPT. So that's a successful mention for that particular query. This is Claude Sonnet, best mattress for side sleepers. You can see Casper is also here as a top pick. So this is a huge win. And it gives you insight into what else is there, right? There's also some branded queries like this. You can see there's a mix of competitive and branded queries. So they're showing up for all the branded ones, and the opportunities and an insight here is how they show up. And in this case, it's actually ranked number 7. So you don't even see Casper show up here on this result, but it shows up a little bit further down in the response, right? Number 5. So again, best mattress bundles for a new bedroom. These are huge citations that you want to pursue. And you can keep going down here and explore how AI is interacting with your brand. Then we land into the brand awareness section. We're trying to figure out, does AI know who we are? And in this case, it definitely knows Casper. Every single model, every time Casper is mentioned, is able to recognize them successfully. Now, the next section is really important, and this one is the competitive visibility by model. So this shows us for non-branded competitive terms how well the business shows up. So for Casper, for example, there are 3 queries here that none of the models recommended Casper. For example, recommend a supportive mattress for couples. What are the best pillows for neck support? And the best mattress protector to prevent spills. At the very least, for these 2, definitely they want to show up. And none of the models recommended Casper for these 3 queries. But there are also queries where Claude, for example, recommended them, so they would show up in 11 out of 15 queries here. But for the same queries, Gemini only recommended Casper 5 times. So there will be some queries here that Claude, for example, recognizes Casper, but Gemini doesn't. Same thing with ChatGPT, so 8 out of 15 times. But most importantly, we want to see out of the competitors that are showing up, how do we get ourselves into these queries? How do we get ourselves more prominent in places where we do show? And how do we insert ourselves into the queries where we don't show up at all, but our competitors do? And this is where the competitive intelligence section comes in, because what this does is, powered by Claude, it analyzes what are the competitors actually doing in order to show up for certain keywords where we are missing. And it gives us some opportunities of what we can actually do. And it could be something very simple, like developing some landing pages or blog content that supports, for example, Casper as the provider of mattress that is a great fit for couples. They could focus on pillows for neck support, similarly by upgrading their product pages, okay, and explicitly addressing neck support, side sleeper pillow. So the things that we're trying to address, the queries that we're missing, there's a gap there. We want to address those. And this report highlights those opportunities for us. Right? We can have a whole mattress for couples hub page. We're going to have a mattress protector benefits content series if you want to go for that third one, or even optimized pages for next support. You can just add that as an extra bullet to some of your product pages and meta titles. And that alone would be already a big step in the right direction. We then see a technical readiness report, and this is done through a crawler that goes through Casper.com and looks for certain things that LLMs are looking for, like certain schema markup, structured data. So it may not pick up all the information, but nevertheless gives you a high-level overview to make sure you're structurally solid. And again, this is just in plain language, some recommendations, quick wins, any structural optimizations you can do, some blog posts and landing pages, meta description, something a little bit more advanced that may take a little bit longer. I can do some in-depth guides on mattress care, for example, or how to choose the best pillows for neck support, and so on and so forth. Even a couples mattress guide, or maybe working with a creator or a creator who's a couple, that they can talk about why Casper provides their favorite mattress of choice as a couple. Again, it's just a free report that you can run. But of course, if you're interested in a higher number of queries that are addressing specific high intent commercial value for you, in this case, it could be around best options in comparison, how to and problem solving. What is your product? What problem is your product actually solving? Pricing and value, shopping intent. All of these types of queries for the mattress sector are where the opportunity is for Casper and their competitors, actually. So this allows you, there's two paid plans. There's one for $10, which is this one, and then there is one for $29, which gives you access to a lot more queries and tracking multiple brands and things like that. But this refreshes once a week, so you can track as you start taking steps to increase your rankings on LLMs. You can use this as a weekly snapshot tracker to see how well you're advancing and progressing. And if you're able to do that, you will start getting more traffic, more sales, more leads, whatever business objectives you're after. That's a paid version. But if you are looking to just get a sense of how well does AI know your brand, how well does ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini recognize what you do, and do they prioritize you ahead of your competitors? And do they recommend you when people are searching for things where you could be showing up? You can come here, run this report, answer those questions, but most importantly, get a very specific action plan of things that you could do immediately today or tomorrow, or share with your team, things that you can do to increase your rankings, give yourselves an edge over your competition to increase your rankings on LLMs and start reaping the benefits of this work. Once again, this tool and this demo was brought to you by Simply Digital. This is our AI native digital agency. We have a vision of showcasing and defining what an AI native digital agency means. Today, in today's world, we do that by deploying AI native websites, agentic workflows that are run by autonomous AI agents, deploying custom tools, and using the AI tech that's available at our fingertips to deliver much more value to our clients that we used to do before, and do that in a cost-efficient way while staying cutting edge and helping get more customers, more leads, and more business. If you're curious about how we work, feel free to head over to simply.digital. If you want to increase your rankings or talk to us about what are some strategies that can be used to increase your rankings in ChatGPT, in Claude, in Gemini, book a strategy call with us. We've been deep in the trenches for the past 6 months, learning. There's a lot of new data, new insights this is uncharted territory for every marketer, for every business owner, for every CMO, for every CEO, for every organization out there that's trying to figure out how to navigate these waters and how to surf the wave and not be crushed by it. So if you want to chat, book a strategy call. Let's talk about your business objectives. How can we ingest AI into them effectively to make it work for you? Thank you for watching.